What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome on into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. On today's episode, I want to share with you guys Mel Kiper's latest big board coming out of the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, going into the NFL Combine, which, believe it or not, is just 2.5 short weeks away from now. So the pre-draft process is off and running. So let's get right into it, starting with his top 5 players. This is not a mock draft, it's just his top 25 guys. And nothing changed from his first big board in January to his big board in February. He's got the same top 5 guys at the same spot. So nothing changes here, but we start to see a change at Ashton Jeanty at number 6. He moved up from 9 to 6, 3 spots. We saw a few other guys stay at the same spot. Will Johnson was the corresponding move. He fell from 6 to 9. Don't ask me what Mel Kiper saw from Jeanty or Will Johnson in the last couple of weeks, since neither one has played a football game. I don't know if Kiper just watched a little bit more film or just decided to shake things up to keep things nice and fresh. But 2 guys right here that I could see Denver having a lot of interest in: Ashton Jeanty and Tyler Warren. Those are, in my eyes, your dream draft targets. Jeanty, I don't think I need to go into too much detail when I say he is as close to a generational back as we have seen in quite some time. Like, if you're just thinking about recent top backs, it's Jeanty, it's Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette. He's in that tier of expectations. He runs with power. He's got incredible balance. He truck sticks people over, hits them, knocks them over. If you're looking for a con, he has taken a little bit of a beating. 750 carries in 3 seasons. That's a lot of wear and tear before you even get to the NFL. He had well over 300 carries this past year. Teams do monitor the amount of touches that running backs get in college because they don't want them to get to the NFL and all of a sudden be a little bit out of gas before they even take a snap with their new team. So that is something to at least not factor in, but just store way back here. As for Tyler Warren, 6'6", 261 pounds, so really good size altogether. You think 6'6", 261, that's like an NFL defensive end. But he runs like a wide receiver. But he's blocking guys who are the same size as him. Now, he's not a great run blocker despite the size, but that's something I could see NFL coaches improving upon. But he's got the versatility. You can put him anywhere you want on the field. He's got those joker traits. We did a whole video about Sean Payton looking for his next joker. Someone who's got yards after contact, yards after the catch ability, and is very versatile and scheme-friendly and can be a plug-and-play person for a coach. To me, Jeanty and Warren, they are plan A and 1A. To each their own. If you want Denver to go after a tight end first and then running back next or vice versa, that's fine. I'm not going to die on that hill because both players are incredible prospects, where I won't be upset if they were to pick one over the other. My personal preference would be Jeanty, but I'm not the GM, so who cares? I think that Sean and George Payton's preference would be Tyler Warren. So if you had to pick one of these 2 guys, who would it be? Jeanty or Warren? Scroll on down to the comment section and let me know which player you think would be the better pick at number 20. Let's get back to our big board from Kiper, though. So after 1 through 10, there are only 2 guys that I could see the Broncos having a good chance at landing, and those are the 2 players. As for 11 through 15, we've got Will Campbell coming up from LSU. He was 11 on the last big board. We get a big jump here. Shamir Stewart, defensive end out of Texas A&M, going all the way up to 12 after a very impressive Senior Bowl performance. Colston Loveland is up next, the tight end from Michigan. He rose up 2 spots as well, going from 15 to 13 in Kiper's big board. Let's pause right here and talk about Colston Loveland because Campbell's not the move for Denver, and I don't think Stewart is as well with all the depth they already have at the pass rusher spot. However, Loveland might be your consolation prize if you don't land Tyler Warren. I will not be surprised if some scouts and GMs, by the time April gets here, prefer Loveland over Warren because he is like a Sam Laporta type tight end. He's got such a great receiving ability. Not that Warren doesn't, but Loveland's separation ability for 6'5", 245 pounds, that just screams red zone target from your size, but also someone who can use from the 20-yard line to the 20-yard line in the middle of the field. He did not have a great quarterback working with him this past year at Michigan, and that resulted in him not getting a bunch of stats and a bunch of yards. He also missed a little bit of time with a shoulder injury as well. But Loveland is a great receiving threat for anyone looking for a tight end. And I think this could be someone that Denver kind of falls in love with a little bit because they really want to find that yak guy, yards after catch. And Loveland had a great ability of turning upfield with the Wolverines this past season. So that's one name to keep an eye on if you are the Broncos searching for a tight end, and Tyler Warren gets taken a few spots before you. And you can look at his stats throughout his career at Michigan. Getting back to our big board now. Or before we get back to our big board, I'll wrap it up with Colston Loveland, in my eyes, is plan C/D. If Jeanty and Warren are plan A or plan B, and you can switch around the order, I think Loveland is C/D. I'll tell you who the other part of the C/D is. They're later on in Mel Kiper's big board. After Loveland, the next couple of guys here, Kelvin Banks out of Texas. This one does not really apply to Denver. They're not going to go offensive line around one. Michael Williams out of Georgia. That's another option as well, but not really. I mean, let's just be real here. They're not looking for pass rushers. Moving along here, a couple other guys on the big board to watch for. Josh Simmons, no. Mike Green. I like Mike Green a lot. Keep an eye on him. If you want to sound smart in front of your friends, he is a rising popular name, not even ranked on Kiper's previous big board, all the way up to 17. Luther Burden is definitely an option to keep an eye on if Denver wants to go wide receiver. And then finally, at 19, we have Miami tight end Elijah Arroyo. So let's discuss Elijah next up on the show. But first, I do want to give a shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stat projections. Basketball season is heating up, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, for the big game coming up, you can get Patrick Mahomes' passing yards at 0.5. Hate him? We can all agree he's going to get more than 0.5 passing yards. So do yourself a favor right now and download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Where were we? Oh, yes. Arroyo, 6'4", 251 pounds, so prototypical size for an NFL tight end. The knock on Elijah is the lack of availability at the U. He was limited to 11 games over 2022 and 2023, I believe, to a knee injury. However, the Senior Bowl really did him a lot of favors because he shined there. After not being on the field as much in Miami because of knee injuries and other injuries, he really blossomed in front of plenty of GMs and scouts and whatnot. So that was a Senior Bowl where he really made a name for himself, and he went from not even being on Kiper's top 25 to moving all the way up to 19. Last year for the U, 590 yards, 7 touchdowns, 35 grabs altogether. He was a big play machine for Cam Ward, averaging nearly 17 yards a reception. So Elijah is a name to watch for that if you are looking for a tight end, but you don't want to go tight end in round 1, I think he could be a really good day 2 draft target. I am not completely in bed with him. It sounds weird. Walk that back. I'm not completely in bed with taking Elijah with the 20th overall pick in round 1. The injury concerns are concerning because the hits you take in the college football ranks are nowhere near the hits you're going to take in the NFL. So if you're missing time in college, I'm starting to be concerned that you will miss time in the NFL. It's not a complete, death sentence of, injured in college, crossed off my list. But as a receiver, you take hits in college football, and if you miss time from those hits, imagine the time you're going to miss from the hits you take in the NFL. So I would just wait on him till round number 2 or round number 3. Before we check out the rest of Kiper's mock, help us out by reaching our draft goal, which is 35,000 subscribers here at the Broncos Breakdown. We obviously have a long ways to go, but if you are looking for a go-to Broncos YouTube channel for the NFL draft, I promise you, there is no other Broncos YouTube channel that will go through all of the targets, the mock drafts, the big boards like we do here at the Broncos Breakdown. So picking up from where we left off on Kiper's big board, up next at number 20, it is Malaki Starks, the safety / DB, if you want to put a broad position on him, out of Georgia. He was 16th on his previous big board, and he fell down to 20th on this one. Don't ask me why. Now, good size, 6'1", 205 pounds, a long-time starter for the Bulldog defense. 3 years, he was a 5-star recruit for Kirby Smart. In his career at Athens, he had 6 interceptions, 23 pass breakups, 5.5 tackles for loss. He's got incredible athletic traits. He is versatile. You can line him up in a lot of different spots in that secondary, and he's got the production. So you're not just taking a track star that you hope you can get some good production out of that the college ranks were unable to do. No, he checks a lot of boxes here from an athletic standpoint and from a production standpoint. Personally, I would push safety off until later in the draft. Not that it's not an important position or not a need for Denver, but I think running back and tight end are bigger needs. And those are spots I would prefer to target first in the draft and wait on safety until later in the draft. Justin Simmons, a 3rd-round draft pick. You can find good safeties later in the draft. Speaking of safeties, the next one on Kiper's big board is another safety. It is South Carolina's safety. I won't do the same song and dance I just did for Starks. I did for Nick here. So moving along, Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State. Tyler Booker, really good guard from Alabama. Denver doesn't need a guard. Jahad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama. I should probably do a little bit more research on him, but I'm not quite there yet for him being a realistic draft target. But the 25th player on Kiper's big board, I do think has a great chance of being the pick at number 20. And it is the Ole Miss defensive tackle, Walter Nolan. Overall, pretty solid size. 6'3", 293 pounds. Junior, who was a big-time recruit out of Texas A&M before transferring to Oxford, Mississippi. The production is what jumps out the most when it comes to Nolan. He has some good physical traits. I'm not saying he's not a, gifted athlete, but when you bring up Walter Nolan to scouts and GMs, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is not his size and speed. Whereas Shamir Stewart from Texas A&M, that is someone that the first thing that comes out of their mouth is the size and speed. So Nolan's production is what really jumps out to me because we're looking at someone who's closing in on 300 pounds and is still able to rush the quarterback. He had a boatload of sacks his last season for the Rebels, and you just do not find guys with this type of size and this much pass rush production. I mean, you can look at his 2024 numbers with me here. 6.5 sacks, 35 pressures, 14 tackles for loss. Usually the big fellas like this are good tree stumps. You stick them in the middle of the defensive line, they're going to eat up the guard in the center, and they're going to allow your linebacker to get in the backfield. And that's a good, fine role. Vita Vea does that very well for the Buccaneers, although he's got an upper, echelon, upper gear to his game. But there's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to know what defensive coordinators love, it's guys that can generate pressure from up the middle. Because you expect your defensive ends to get after the quarterback. And the quarterback does too. But what they don't expect is for someone to come right down the A gap and knock them over. And Nolan, for that reason alone, and with DJ Jones being a free agent, if Jeanty and Warren are gone, and if it's between and if it's between Loveland and I remember I said plan C, plan D, I could see Nolan being the plan D if plan C is Colston Loveland. So for me, there are 4 guys that I have a really close eye on for Denver. And they're in 2 different tiers. Jeanty and Warren, Loveland and Nolan. So who do you want Denver to draft? Let me know in the comment section below who your number 1 draft target is for the Broncos.